Thanks for staying with us. So, last Thursday in Ekiti, the newly appointed chairman of the Nigerian National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Buba Marwa, in a remark at a public function said, young Nigerians will soon be required to obtain drug-free certificate from the agency before getting married. Now, what are your thoughts on this? You can call us on 081-270-53687 or 091-390-76948, or you can tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweet. All right, so he had said that he proposed that men or young people getting married should actually get a drug test. Insist that their parents must put them through that first. Others are saying, okay, that's a good idea, but what's even more important is they should actually be taking drug tests before they take any WAEC examination or even come into schools at all. These are areas because the kids are using it. But what are your thoughts? Do you think it's right for him to suggest that we actually ask intending married couples to take drug tests? Right?
I do not agree with him.
Okay.
I do not. That's against my fundamental human rights. For me to marry, that means I'm above 21.
Okay.
The legal age.
An adult, okay.
I'm an adult.
Is 18?
Oh, 18. Whatever.
Exactly.
If 18 is even worse. But I'm giving them 21. And then you're telling me, before I marry, I must take a drug test. That's my... You are infringing. If you want to catch me for taking drugs, catch me for taking drugs. Don't say it's a criteria for me to do before I... No.
Well, many churches
If you say... Sorry, Mariah, if you say students should take it before their exams, fine. That's below the legal age.
Yeah,
so
right.
I agree with that, but because I want to marry.
Now let's go back to why he's saying that. Because of what he has seen, the experiences he has seen. Because if they
he only became drug enforcement 2 months
quite
ago.
recently, but in these 2 months we've seen a lot of arrests, cocaine, trafficking. We've seen quite a bit of it happening. So from what he has seen, he's saying, listen, parents, these things are happening. Maybe it's time for us to begin to test these children before they get married. But let me come to you.
Disagree with YK that we are a consuming nation now, and we know every of these substances that are under our laws illegal to consume are being consumed in our country, and in their fight, any method that is legal to be used can be used. So even if you are above 18, above legal age, you should know better. And if you consume these, substances, you should, if a milestone, marriage exam or anything requires that you're tested and it is found in your system, it's even going to aid investigations. I personally believe that those tests would reduce this, abuses.
If they find you guilty, will they now stop your marriage?
No, I don't even understand. Nyma, where are you coming from? This is not... You are talking from your religion, your religious point of view. Because in an Islamic state, I would agree with that. You know where you are born.
I'm not coming from an Islamic point of view.
My freedom.
This is completely a legal point of view. Cocaine and all other drugs, intoxicating substances are banned in this country. They are illegal to be consumed in this country. And we know that they carry out their raids. When they arrest a person, that person can be tried for either trafficking or consuming or using, those substances. So if they add the tests to every person, every adult person found to be in consumption of any such illegal substances, they can proceed and prosecute the person. And it should be a requirement.
Possession.
Wait, now, YK. Wait, they can proceed and prosecute that person. Let me explain why I am saying this. We have a level of insecurity now that you cannot in any way, separate from the use of some of these substances. Most people carry out actions that you wonder if a person in a normal mind can go ahead and do it.
But the question is, why is marriage involved? Why does that?
I don't understand those.
Please don't deceive me, don't deceive me.
Excuse me, first and foremost, sorry, Miriam, I know you need to talk. I'm sorry, but I just have to answer her. See, first and foremost, people who take drugs, you hardly find them marrying because they are too high anyway to even be thinking of marriage. That's number one. Now, I'm not taking drugs. My partner is not taking drugs. Then you tell me I must by force. Because you are who?
No. What are you afraid of?
This is no.
You are not consuming.
This is not a dictator. A dictatorship.
I don't consume it. But I'd rather not jam somebody that is deceiving me.
That is against my fundamental human rights.
To marry somebody, that person should ensure and go and do. Just as the person was required to do blood group and HIV test. Because I don't want to marry into a situation I cannot handle.
For me too, I have questions about the legality of it, which is
very legal
by fundamental human rights. At
exactly.
what point can you ask for that? But I also can understand it on a point where you say you're advising parents that, when you make those your list of bring goat, bring cow, bring rice and beans, put at the end of it that also you'd like to see a certificate certifying that this person is not a drug user. Because, and for me, I think this is coming from saying this because of experience of many young people who have gotten into marriages and there's domestic violence. And one of the reasons also that has been attributed to it is drug use. You end up with your young, beautiful daughter or your young son ends up with a spouse, and then we hear all sorts of things happen, and when you investigate a bit further, oh, this person, it's just shisha he's taking. No, it's just shisha she's taking. Oh, no, it's just pot. Before you know it, further investigation shows that they are involved in serious drug taking. So I can understand it as an advice to parents. Maybe you should also make that as one of the requirements you make when you're asking for someone's hand in marriage. That's on the other side. There's so many things that he's done since he has. I mean, there's so many stories concerning drug busts that he's done since he got in. But I would really like for the touchlight and the searchlight to be on those who sell, suppliers of the thing, because the users of the thing, that's on the one hand, but the suppliers of the thing, that is where the impact will be most felt.
Yes.
If you kill it there, where will the people who are using it get it?
Miriam, you see the worst part? The people that supply it do not even take it. Yeah. Because if they were taking it, they would be taking.
But the people
they will be taking everything. They will be taking everything. They will not have power to sell because they have smoked everything or drank everything or whatever they do with it. They will not. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right. They don't consume what they sell.
They will. So go and if you want to go and look for people, go and look for the suppliers. You are right. But when are you going to? Because I will find it highly insulting if I am not a drug taker and I want to go for a marriage certificate and you tell me, oh, you must do drug tests before. What? My human rights as a human being? What are you talking about? This is not a military dictatorship.
I think so. Therefore, I think what we are all saying, therefore, is that yes, you are right. We shouldn't make it a law. But if a family says, "I will insist on your spouse to take a drug test," that's a personal decision by the family.
Exactly.
The same way churches and some must say you must do HIV test before we can do within marriage counseling. Before we even marry you. So these are individual decisions made.
Do psychological because
excuse
me. Some people have coin. They are not taking drugs, but they have no coin. Are you going to say as a law now? I'm going to say, do you walk with the left leg or the right leg?
I want to do.
What are you saying?
Let me go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still in this conversation. Yes, before the break, Nyma was going to respond.
I was going to respond. So I don't believe that a law that bans or requires us to take a drug test before some of our landmark event is against any of our fundamental human rights. Under the Constitution, as it is, all our fundamental human rights are qualified. So your right to life is qualified if you commit a crime. Your right to freedom of movement is qualified. Everything is qualified and can be, enforced by a court order or a law to stop or be curtailed. So you can be stopped from movement, you can be stopped from anything as long as it's in the Constitution.
While they are at it,
wait now.
Before you finish, while they are at it, before we celebrate our birthday, they should do, every year before we have birthday, they should do drug tests.
Is your driver's license not due on your birthday?
Could we erase all our fundamental human rights?
We need to fight, drugs abuse.
Excuse me.
We need to fight it because it is the basis for every of our criminality that we see around. Some people carry out actions that they cannot do in their normal eye under drug. And we know this country is now a consuming nation.
So therefore, Nyma, what you're saying is that maybe the fact that he was targeting marriages is not the right approach. Because YK is not against it when people are saying we can take a drug test before you come into schools, right? It's okay for you to take a drug test.
Requiring you to do a drug test.
Suggestion for marriage is the issue.
Wait, it doesn't matter. requiring you to do a drug test before your marriage does not mean that they have stopped you from marrying or your partner from marrying. They're just exposing your lifestyle to your partner. So the person proceeds with the choice. It's just like our blood and genotype test. If you do it, some people still say that they are far. I've already told them that in their future, their child can never die. Like they cannot born sickle cell. And they proceed. And some people get lucky, some people are unlucky. Nobody is telling you who to marry.
Right. Can I read these tweets? Why you are test? Okay. Because why they are
coming for the marriage act.
Can I read this tweet? It says,
by who?
Tonte Ibiki Alabo says if the NDLEA can make such a proposal, it should cut across all politicians to hold public office, cause some politicians are high on drugs. It doesn't affect, if it doesn't affect them, it shouldn't stand. And I want to even help him. Before you go for public office,
very important.
All from up
to down.
All of them should take drug tests.
I agree.
All of them. Why, let me finish. Why are they targeting poor young people who want to just start out their lives?
And the real problem is actually many of our politicians actually do.
Yes, we do that, but let's not make it.
And if it is even the guru.
No, I don't think. Why can I understand your argument, but I also do not think that this is targeted to stop young people who are about to start their lives. Yes. The NDLEA boss says that if this menace, this drug abuse menace, is curtailed, 50% of the crime that is carried out within our country would take that away. That's
so
one.
They should go and curtail
Secondly, there's a large percentage of young people who consume these drugs.
Very sad.
And these young people, they're in school, so which is why I believe that they should be tested in schools. They are getting married as well.
Miriam, if you had said schools, I will not argue.
I think this is, to be fair to the NDLEA boss, this is just a number of many other things that he's been doing. And this is just something that he's saying. We're talking to all stakeholders, and parents and youth are stakeholders in this fight against drug abuse.
Right.
I do not see that there's a legal way of asking people to do a drug test before marriage. But I also understand why, as a parent, it will give me some sort of satisfaction that I know that my child is not going to end up with a drug
let me
user.
take this call. I'm told I have a caller. Good morning. Are you there?
Yes, good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Okay, my name is Johnson, and I'm a first-time caller.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'd like to contribute to what we're talking about this morning.
Go ahead, please.
And I want to take the side of Nyma this morning.
Okay.
I agree totally that couples should take tests. Some of the violence that we see around these days is actually due to some people that are already on drugs. And if we're talking about fundamental human rights, when I want to marry in church, they ask me to take pregnancy tests, they ask me to take HIV tests. Is that also not amounting to infringing on my fundamental human rights? So if we're talking about rights now, we should look at rights holistically. But I want to say that it's also good. Even driver's license, some of the accidents on the road, it's also due to drugs. Yeah. Some people will tell you that they take kai every morning before they can drive. That is not good for us. So I agree absolutely that couples should take tests. It does not amount to infringing on human rights at all. I don't see it like that.
Thank you very much.
Rather, it's what.
So, YK, there's a question here for you, YK. Somebody says that, what if when you want to travel and they insist that you take a drug test before traveling to their country, would you count that as a infringement on your rights?
It depends on if I really want to go to the country. You see, maybe if I want to travel to Saudi Arabia, they can ask me to do a drug test. I will not go to Saudi Arabia. It's true. It's not, when I'm thinking of where I want to go in my life, Saudi Arabia is not one of those places. So if that's the law in their country, it's fine. It is not the law here. Now, to answer him, if you say you want to go for a driver's test and say a driving license and they say take a drug test, I understand that.
Yeah. So the issue is the fact that it's for married couples. That's the problem.
First and foremost, married, the drug people that I see, hardly half of them don't get married. More than half of them don't get married. They're too high to get married. That's number one. So, are you really tackling the problem? Now, the problem is there is a drug problem in Nigeria. It is not, even, some of them, are already in the marriage.
Then they start.
True. So what do? You go and enter their married home. All married people here. you are that look like you're on drugs. Start taking drug tests. Come on.
So that's not the salt.
Right.
So
I'm saying solve the problem from the root.
Yes.
Don't go and start infringing on my fundamental human rights to start saying, before I marry, okay, when I'm married, don't call, and I start taking drugs, are you going to come and collect me from my marriage and make me do a drug test?
Okay, so, Nyma, let me come in.
I would love that. It's even the test and the consequence of the test, positive outcome of the test is that the NDLEA also arrests and prosecutes anybody that they see or find, you know, a sample of that drug in their system. In domestic violence cases, about 50% of the cases are drug-based as well. So you find a couple in their home, the wife will be saying, I have never, even when we're dating, some people date 9 years and they never do see their partner in such an, because the person has perfected the life.
What if he started it after the marriage?
No, I'm saying some people have perfected the lifestyle of lying, and they lead double lifestyle very well. Now, the marriage registry, especially the one in Ikoyi, cannot do more than come and apply for form. You apply for form, they give you the license, you go ahead and you marry. They cannot regulate in any way. This will be one of the many things they could do to ensure that, you know, they curb domestic violence within marriages as well. Okay. I'm not saying that all the cases will come out positive. I'm saying that once they have, they can then proceed and advise the couple. Nisuru, let me finish. They can proceed and advise the couple on how they will proceed. So if it is the choice of the girl to marry a clear drug abuser, the person can continue.
That the NDLEA man has not even touched the root. He should now start entering marriages. He should enter Moriah's house.
It is not his call.
Enter Moriah's house, do drug tests. Enter Miriam's house, do drug tests. Because if let me finish. Since it's not against the fundamental human rights, they should now, in fact, individually go to married houses, knock on the door. Everybody in this house come out, I want to do drug tests.
Okay.
It's because
that's what you're saying.
Let me take Oladipo's call.
That is what you're saying.
It's because they're not.
So you agree that they should do that?
I agree they should proceed.
Okay.
Anything they need to fight drug.
Let me take Oladipo. Oladipo, are you there?
Oladipo is laughing.
Yes, I am. Good morning, Morayo.
Go ahead, please.
It's a pleasure to talk with all you ladies for the first time.
Thank you.
You guys do an excellent job, and I like the way you reach out to the whole of Nigeria and the world at large.
Thank you.
Lima, it's also a pleasure to meet you. I mean, I'm a lawyer, and I'm quite. I'm not. I just became a lawyer not long ago. But in contributing to what you're talking about, I think first of all we have to know where we're coming from, because we might not be compared to developed countries where they have good measures where they detect crime and all this wrong, or people that disobey the rules of engagement of a country or of a body or any organization. So I think drugs has done a lot of damage. In our rural areas, we see people taking drugs. Newborn babies have to inhale these things, and a lot of things is like as if nobody is watching over this wrong act. We even see the use of tramadol and many other things. So it's excessive. And if we as a people gather and say, okay, even if we need to assist the police to detect this wrong, like, okay, let's use this medium that, okay, since people are getting married, then they should be checked before they do this. It will help to reduce this, or to detect how many people do these wrong acts. And it might aid us as a people. And on the side of whether it's infringing on human rights, I won't say so. Because I remember many of my colleagues when we were out of school and they got employment with the government, they had to take a series of tests before you are accepted for the job. And some of them, most of them were health tests. They had to do a medical checkup in the hospital to be sure that you are...
That is for a
job.
job.
Yes, for a job.
If I apply for a job and they want to do my blood tests, it is within their rights, because they are the ones paying me and I'm working for them.
No, I'm just to the point that
what I'm saying is
we do series of tests for a particular essence. Now we said you want to get a job and you have to do series of tests, even for the military, the police, or even the Lagos state jobs.
That's fine.
And then you have to do one or two other stuff. And now we're now saying about marriage now. Before you come to the marriage registry, you do a series of tests. I don't see what's wrong with that.
Okay,
I don't see how that is.
I see.
Yeah. Thank you. So that's fine. So let me take on
one of the other things also, when you look at this particular suggestion that he's made about parents asking people to do a drug test, would be to what end would a drug test before marriage, what would it bring about? For me, it would just be maybe for collecting data, really. Because if you're already a drug user, it may not necessarily stop the marriage from continuing, but it will make you aware of who it is that you're getting into partnership with. So for that purpose. But if we're talking about for the purpose of stopping the use of,
which is what
of drugs, it has to be a different approach, which is the suppliers, and in places where it matters, their schools, their jobs. I've seen videos of where drug tests are taken out on teachers randomly. You just come into school because teachers, randomly done, so that, you know, when you realize that you could get in trouble for using it, then you will not buy it, and then the supplier has nobody to sell to.
There was an accident on the Kaduna, it was in the papers today, in the Kaduna Expressway, where 2 cars collided. Now, if you check the blood of those people, they were probably on drugs. Now, if you say, if you are an NDLEA boss and you say, oh, all drivers, especially commercial drivers, take drug tests, 100%. I will agree with him.
I support that one.
You know how, because they are dangerous to the society. They are taking people's lives in their hands.
You know how when you're arrested abroad, they made you do this DUI test where you have to walk on a straight line just to test how you can actually.
I've seen where they're even doing it.
Now, so YK, so let us be sure. So YK is not against us doing tests. Our issue is that it's for that marriage portion, because it is not going to be reflective of solution.
Yes.
It is
You're not solving the problem. You're only giving advice. So if you give a general advice, okay, let us try to see family members, or for your own information, FYI, do a drug test for your children. That's your business, but don't make it a law. Don't make it
what kind of law is that?
How do you make that a law?
Okay, excuse me, Miriam, Nyma, you find out that they are taking drugs. What is the solution? You are going to lock them up?
You won't allow them to get married?
You not, excuse me, when you are attacking this poor young couple, who probably are not even taking drugs, because the drug ones are walking around freely to continue to take their drugs. You are leaving the drivers. You didn't even open your eye and say, all commercial drivers from now on will take drug tests.
That would be powerful.
That would be very powerful. Before you
I will not sit here and complain. I will say, well done.
Let's take tweets.
Okay, let's take a few tweets.
Before you take the one that supports you, let me take the one that supports you.
Let me take this call. Let me take the call. I have a call from Imo State.
See, let us lose call now.
Hello, are you there? I think we lost that call. Oh my goodness.
Let me take tweets.
Nyma, let me start with Nyma, please.
So, Brainbox says the idea of drug tests before marriage is misplaced priority. What about those that start taking drugs after getting married? What happens thereafter? We should learn to deal with cause of issues instead of dealing with the symptom. Henry MD says recreational drugs has a limited half-life in the blood system, meaning that someone who takes such a drug can test negative depending on when the test was conducted. If someone abstains from drug for 2 days, of course, his test will be negative.
I think all sound
he did not let me rest, as in tweet after tweet. They make a law to test people involved in domestic violence. Testing those about to marry is government overreach. You owe it to represent yourself and kids to prevent government from taking away basic rights.
For once, Ehi is on my side. He said no.
Ehi is always on your side.
Akasha Zibiri. Ajenikuti is right. Government has no legal ground to test you for drug unless there is a reason to suspect you of using. What have you to hide? This is how dictatorship starts. If you are concerned about something test, those you arrest.
Okay, I have a twist here. Somebody said, okay, go ahead, man, please.
So One Bed Tribe says, I agree with YK. Wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime occasion. The test could be criteria at different institutions. Office, school exams, driver's license, visa interviews, and not at a wedding. It should be carried out seasonally and not once at such institutions. Bishop Adamu Ahmed says, what if the intending couple both take drugs and are comfortable with that? To what end would the test be then? Will they be locked up or forbidden from their union?
Let me take this call from Chuks in Atlanta. Come to you, Nyma. Chuks from Atlanta, are you there?
Yes,
Chuks, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I appreciate your contributions. But today, I want to cite Fala's daughter. The issue of testing. people before marriage, it's a mixed priority. I think it's key to make money. I don't know. I want to say that you guys are good. It's going to be good work. The issue of drug testing is good for our country, but it is a skill. Or it is, I think, to be targeted for marriage. It is not important. Go to the source of your income.
It's hard to hear you, Chooks. I'm really having trouble hearing you.
I know that he's on my side, so God bless you.
Okay, don't worry. Everybody's on.
I know some people don't. Some people,
there's no competition. Why can't I just have
this competition?
People are sharing their views, and they must share their views.
I agree. So because he's on my side, I say God bless you.
Okay, no problem.
The person that is not on my side, if I don't talk to them now.
See them.
I leave them out to bless them.
Ibrahim Alashela says it's good to ascertain the status of your partner so as to have foreknowledge of the person you will live with. I don't want to wake up. People like us who don't cut, wake up by somebody that has pretended on this life. We just wake up. That's
you that you don't cut.
Do drug test for the person.
Let me take this from
you that you even went to go and look for someone that is taking drugs. You didn't open your eye to know.
How will you know now? You will look for the person. How will you know?
Let me take this.
Even the ones
that means you have innate ability to take drugs. If
Let me take this comment.
Find someone taking drugs.
If Emma sent me this comment, she said that no institution regulates marriages, so that policy cannot stand. Taking tests before marriage is not a root solution. I can stay off just because of the purpose of the test.
Let me just add one point. Maybe there's something that we're not looking at. Okay, you understand we have different cultures and different ways that we live our lives. There's still a culture where a lady is giving out in marriage, so her parents give her out. She's not necessarily like the rest of us, where she grows up, she makes her decisions and things like that. A boy child is picked up from one side, and the girl child on the other side, and they have arranged that when you eventually go, you are going to give your child in marriage. That could also be a particular demographic that they are looking at and they are speaking to.
Miriam,
let me take this call.
If the two parents decide to do drug tests for their children, that is fine. That is the two parents. It's not government that is going to come and tell me to do drug tests for my child now.
Point taken. Let me take this last call. Adembaya from Macaulay. Adembaya Macaulay from the UK. Go ahead, please.
Hello, good morning, ladies.
You're live. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, ladies. God bless you for this topic.
Thank you.
To start with, the drug thing plaguing our country is a massive one. And everybody on the design line sit down and come up with a super holistic approach towards it. The NDLEA should start from schools, not just schools, from even primary schools, to ensure that our people don't go into drugs. That is one. Secondly, all our political class should be tested for drugs. Some of them are on drugs. Nobody is talking about them. Most of them are on drugs, our political class. We should start with them. Talking about marriage, I do not think the issue of marriage should actually come in. The drug is eaten into the fabric of our society. As for the daughter, I appreciate what you are doing. I appreciate your concern about human rights. But we are more into deeper problems than thinking about human rights at this moment. It's serious. It's very serious. We should be serious about this. Honestly, if I'm in government, we do more other things than this. Take, for instance, cannabis. Cannabis takes 30 days in somebody's blood. 30 days. And then some people cannabis take over 6 months in your hair when you smoke it. I work in the correctional center, so I'm a drug officer, so I know what I'm talking about. It is deeper, it is more serious. There are other synthetic drugs that our youth are taking. Look at, there's what they call Chinese capsule and all those things in the north. The one they sneak and those youth. Those are the problems of Boko Haram, and our government is not doing anything about it.
So
it is more than that. God bless Nigeria.
All right, we have to wrap up on
I
this.
disagree with the
and I just want to say one thing.
Marriages are regulated even by law. We have our Child Rights Act regulating age of marriage. We have other laws regulating, and we have other forms of captured forms of regulation of marriage. Just like the caller that mentioned that in churches and some religious places, you are required to do certain tests and even virginity tests in some places before marriage. So marriages are regulated, and you will see the head or leader of that place advise the couple not to marry, not to proceed, or the choice of the person they want to marry.
If they want to do virginity tests, is it the pastor that will disvirgin you to know?
You go and do it medically. Ask, I will answer you.
Why must you use pastor? Can't you use imam?
Medically,
can't you use something else? Or your creator, whatever it is you watch.
Yeah,
I don't know how.
Why can't you jump
Please, I have to wrap up on this. I have to wrap up on this topic. We need to wrap up.
Let's wrap up.
I just want to say,
wait.
I'm not against
we've heard you.
drug tests.
Okay. Don't mind that.
I'm not against it at all.
After the show, come and beat me. I've said my own.
I'm just saying, please, go and test first. Start with your politicians.
Yes, okay. Very important.
Then the drivers.
Yes.
Pilots.
Yes.
Why? 2 young people who are just starting out their lives. Okay, what is the solution? You tell me.
Let's take a few tweets and then we run off.
John Bernadette says, I agree with Nyma on this. So I need to take one. Anyway, Margarita says, drug-free certificate as a requirement before marriage is not a guarantee that parties involved will not decide to do drugs after marriage. That should be the least of our problems in this country at the moment. There's just so many, and all of them share the same sentiments, which is this drug problem could be something that would start in marriage as well. So many people do not think that.
Okay, we have to wrap up on this. We have to wrap up on this.
Go and catch them.
But we must remind ourselves that the objective is to get people's views, no matter how different
I'm just very passionate about my views today.
I can see you're very passionate.
I'm very passionate because
let's go on a break.
This is how they will just continue to infringe on our rights till one day I will see that before I walk, I must ask, left or right? Which step should I take? Please.
All right, let's go on a break. We have to wrap up on this. When we come back, asking for leniency for these past governors who have been convicted. That's our next topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.